I could go through these real quick, though, just so it's on the record, I suppose. Anyway, so today's class, Xavier Thomas, wide receiver, 5'11", 190, from Gretna, Louisiana, is a true freshman. Jordan Mosley, wide receiver, 6 feet 190, in Mobile, Alabama, transferred to us from Northwestern. He's a redshirt freshman, has 4 years left. Justin Robinson, wide receiver, big guy, 6'4", 220, McDonough, Georgia, transferred to us from Georgia. He's a sophomore and has 4 years left. Jackie Matthews, cornerback, 5'10", 189, from Birmingham, transferred to us from West Virginia, and he's a senior and has 1 year left. Marcus Banks, cornerback, Houston, Texas, transferred to us from the University of Alabama. He's a senior but has 2 years of eligibility left. Massimo Biscardi, a kicker, 5'11", 215, from Downingtown, Pennsylvania, transferred to us from Coastal Carolina. He's a senior and has 1 year left. Stephen Lasoya, offensive lineman, 6'4", 305, from Nashville, Tennessee, transfers to us from Middle Tennessee State. He's a junior, has 3 years left. Caden Pope, wide receiver, 6'1", 175, Savannah, Tennessee, true freshman, 4 years to play football. Okay, any questions?
Coach, with I think you're up to the 26 guys in this class, still have a few spots left. What's your main priority from a position standpoint with the rest of the transfer portal?
I would say offensive line and safety. Oh, and punter, yeah.
Coach, when you got here, you mentioned needing to kind of add numbers and upgrade the wide receiver room. How do you feel where you are now? I mean, it's like, I think 7 4-star wide receivers in this class at some point. Do you feel comfortable with your numbers and with the quality of play you got now?
I feel comfortable with the numbers. We've got to coach these guys, and we'll have a better idea how good they are and how good they blend together. But I think they're a real talented group, and I think they're a very good starting point. And, we don't have a lot of older guys, but, the guys we do have, I think, are pretty talented and are going to have tremendous careers.
Mike, I was curious with the coaching shuffles you guys kind of had within the staff. Moving Washington from safeties to running backs, what was kind of the decision-making there?
Well, because Zach Arnett's going to coach the safeties, and so then, with him being the coordinator, that kind of diminishes the position. And we think Jason's a really good coach, and then as a result, looking for a running back coach, and I know he'll do a really good job. I mean, he's been coaching for a long time, and then obviously mostly on the defense, but he's a good coach and a sharp guy, and I'm sure he'll sort out running backs quite quickly, and he's got some good guys to work with there too.
You've worked with Drew Hollingshead for a long time. What prompted you to make that move and put him in that inside receivers spot?
He'd been, he'd kind of been somewhat in that role for a while. He'd been my assistant. I would have to do the math on it, probably 7 years or 6 or something. Was very familiar with, our team and how I wanted things done specifically. He had a similar role that Lincoln Riley had, for example, and Dana Holgerson, and so it went. But so then he's familiar with everything in several aspects, several positions, and so I think it's a real natural transition. I mean, sometimes you can go find somebody with more experience overall, but not more experience with us in our situation. So I think it was. That's a thing, is you want to be developing guys within your system as you go, And so hopefully there's as a little effect with the transition as possible.
Coach, you guys revamped your specialist room in many respects, bringing in Massimo Biscardi. I know as a scholarship guy, obviously the kicking woes are well documented. How do you feel about this group of guys you were able to get in?
I feel really good about them. I think that I feel really good. I think that we're not done yet. And it's because right now the dust hadn't all settled on this business of going to portals, being immediately eligible, and all the things that go along with that. But what we are able to do, I guess, is we have a pretty comprehensive class here. We fill most of our needs, even though we're not finished, and I think they were high-quality guys. I think that, I think this is a really good class. It's might be the best class that my group's ever had, so, we're excited about it.
Coach, how has the transfer portal in the NLI era or NIL era impacted you, and what sort of changes have you had to make for that?
I haven't made too many changes. Of course, I don't think it's all really taken hold. I think they're still in a transitional period. I'm curious what unfolds. Occasionally there's some people out there that, talk about this, that, and the other thing, and, I think a lot of that's really quite exaggerated. We just went out and recruited, and as we made relationships with players, then we signed them.
Coach, I know you won't get the guys in practice drills for spring for several more weeks, but how have the newcomers made that transition as far as the transfers and the early high school graduates? How have they done so far?
Well, we just barely started. Pretty good. We were having a real enthusiastic off season. Guys are flying around. We're kind of in the, we're just sort of coming out of the conditioning phase. I mean, after, sitting and you start the winter off season, and not everybody does it this way, but an awful lot of teams do. You start out kind of creating an endurance base so that, you have a higher work capacity going. And so they've been doing that conditioning stuff, starting to come out of that, working more towards speed and power stuff. And then, of course, we've organized our off-season competitions and things like that, so to keep everybody engaged and competing. So, but at this point, it's going real good. What the hell's that?
I know you guys as coaches can't really pitch this to recruits and players coming in, but with the way NIL has kind of shaken up the past few months, have you noticed it be a little bit more difficult maybe if other schools have groups outside that are influencing some decisions more than other schools?
I'm sure it can be, and it might evolve that way, but it hasn't had a lot of impact with us.
You took Matt Brock off special teams, moved Eric Mealy there. What did you think of the job Eric did at special teams coordinator at Wazoo, and how do you think he can do here?
I thought he did good. I thought I thought he did good. I thought because he steadily improved every year at Washington State, and then of course Matt was kind of a specialist on that. Matt's a very good coach, and and Matt's guys did a good job, and we got better and better as a team overall. The longer we were at Washington State. So, but Eric's got a lot of experience in that area, and the kickers and punters have always played quite well for him. And then Matt wanted to get on defense so he could fully focus on defense, and because trying to do both, you're kind of split and torn both ways, and it's actually a bigger job than most normal humans can do, and so now he's fully focused on special teams, and I think that's a very positive thing. And he does a really good job recruiting, and I think it allows, just more clarity and, one of our best recruiting resources to go out there and be even more.
Coach, we're seeing a greater percentage of players sign in December. I think last year you added 1 signee and, 2 officially today, but we're seeing less and less players available in the Power 5 level available for February signing. Do we need 2 signing periods, and what are your thoughts about the early signing period?
I don't know. There's been so much happen with this signing periods, NILs and portals and everything that I think it's fair to say it's a mess. I think that at some point we're going to have to sort it out so it's not, just a series of, explosions all over the place as far as recruiting goes. They used to start out saying, well, we're going to do this because then, you don't have to be at it all year. Well, now they've ensured that you're at it all year, so, yeah, I mean, and I think some of it is these, the guys that make the rules, they just can't resist changing rules, I mean, so, so right now we're in the middle of, in a lot of cases, the recruiting version of the halo rule. Remember the halo rule for punts? I mean, one of the worst rules ever contrived. Well, it took us 3 years to get it behind us, so I don't know that some of this will be behind us anytime soon.
With the shuffles you guys had with the coaching staff, you still kind of kept, everyone within. You didn't bring anyone new in. How beneficial, I guess, is that in recruiting that, you only had one coach really leave and you're able to keep a consistent staff through your 3rd season now?
Oh, I think it's very beneficial. I think it's great for our players, too, to have the same faces, coaching them and then, because then you can build on, what you did previously and I think the better people know one another, the more they can get out of each other, both coaches and players,
Does it help with recruits as well, like kind of
Yeah, because you don't have the transition of changing messages.
Coach, you mentioned having these multiple recruiting press conferences throughout the year, and at the end of spring, there'll be another batch of players that go into the portal, and you guys have a couple of grants available to work with. Do you think that's probably the way to handle things nowadays, that you want to save a scholarship or 2? And if so, how do you see? Do you think that's sustainable?
We've always saved a couple, tried to save like 1 or 2, not always successfully, but tried to save 1 or 2, just for what happens after spring. But the other thing is, just gauging how, what it's going to be. I mean, or how many are going to come out, at what rate, what quality, and you don't want to, you don't want to hold back so many scholarships you waste them, but you don't want to, just hand them out to anybody, because sometimes these guys at the other schools, I mean, they'll be okay, but then all of a sudden their stock rises up just because they're out there available and somebody offers them, So I think you got to be careful about some of these guys getting inflated,